This is Lacey Everett here with Minds in Motion. In order to help others, subscribe, which is free, so we can continue building our positive mental health community. Share it with friends and family so they can reap of the benefits as well. I truly care about your success, so I would love to see your comments and thoughts. Today's sports psychology guest is Nahshon Garrett. Nahshon is a world-class wrestler. He graduated from Cornell University in 2016. Nahshon is a four-time D1 All-American and national champion. He was a 2018 World Team member, but was unable to compete due to an injury. Through his positive and competitive mindset, he continues with wrestling as he heals. All right, let's get to it. Hi, Nahshon.
Hello.
Oh, we are so grateful to have you here.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you reaching out. This is something I do not take for granted. I really appreciate being able to help.
Oh, well, that makes you even better of an athlete. So I wanted to just go right in and start talking about tips and tricks that you might have for other athletes, because you are a world-class wrestler. So I couldn't think of anyone better.
Thank you. Yes, I do have a few things that I've learned, and, experience has been a good teacher to me. And so whatever I can give back, I want to give back.
Oh, wonderful. So what does a competitive mindset look like for you?
Yeah, a competitive mindset is comprised of a few different things. The first thing it's comprised of is trust in your training, trust in your coaches, and really just the preparation that is getting you ready to compete. So I believe that there are a lot of athletes who believe that there is a difference between what they do in practice and what they do in competition. And a competitive mindset for me is putting on this reality that practice is actually competition and competition is actually practice. Now, all of a sudden, you take off the pressure of expectation, of winning and losing and losses and who's going to do what. And you just say, wait a second, this is just practice. And that is how we grow and that is how we progress. And then that's the mindset I have going into competition.
Nice. So it's kind of about going into practices as if you're in a competition. And I can totally see how that would help you when you actually go out into competition, because like you said, it's less pressure. It probably feels like, oh, well, this is just a practice if I've been doing 100% in my practices. Nice.
Exactly. And so you feel, especially going into practices, I remember in college specifically and in later years, but particularly in college, my senior year, that every day when we would go into practice, I would feel this anxiety. I'd feel this butterflies in my stomach because I knew that I was going to go as hard and push myself as far as I could possibly go. And when you do that to yourself every day, while it's mentally can be a little bit painful, you get used to the pain. And then you learn how to function under the stress of knowing that you're going to push yourself as far as you can go.
Wow. So what you're describing right now is hermetic stress. Have you ever heard of that?
I never have.
It's kind of like a lot of people describe it in a sense of jumping in cold water. It's a healthy type of stress. After that, you build resilience. And so that's kind of like what you're talking about right now, is building hermetic stress and putting yourselves in a healthy, stressful situation. And later on, you become stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's really powerful.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting you brought up the cold water thing because when I had gotten injured back in 2018 before the World Championships, for about 6 to 9 months, I was not able to get on the mat or lift or do anything that was strenuous. And so what did I have to do is I had to use cold tubs in order to get myself used to the stress of competition. And I learned how to cope with the stress of being in a cold tub.
Yes. Okay, well, there we go. That was Who would have thought? I know a lot of athletes use that, the ice baths or the cold water techniques. I'm curious, when you were injured, how did you cope with that? And what are some tips and tricks you could tell the other athletes out there about that?
Yes, of course. Dealing with injury is, yes, is something that will happen as an athlete, as an athlete, especially at a high level. I think, and it's a couple different things. The first thing I think is a lot of times we want to blame ourselves for the injury, and so dealing with self blame, having to deal with the stress and the pain of, oh, I did this to myself, or I messed up, and if I hadn't have done this, then this wouldn't have happened. When I got injured, which was one of the more serious injuries I've ever happened, and the only time I've ever had surgery, I tore the pectoralis major tendon, and it ripped off the bone right here on my arm. And it was such a freak accident. There was just no way for me to blame myself. There was no way for me to, I could never take that blame for myself. I knew that it was just something that happened. It was an unfortunate incident, but from that moment, I just accepted, hey, this is something that happened. There are some things in life you can't control. This was one thing I couldn't control, but while I couldn't control my injury, I can't control how I respond to being injured. And so oftentimes we get into this depressive mentality. We are training 2 times a day hard, trying to become a world Olympic champion, to now not training at all, eating whatever you want, living this like life of freedom. And it comes to a hard halt. And so the mentality behind that is learning to just accept this reality. And then from that point in time, it's okay to take your time to cope with the sadness of it. Yes, of course, it's the sadness of, man, I, I'm not able to function at 100%. And then from there, over time, as you start to cope with it, it becomes a little bit easier, and you start to understand, you start to learn certain facets of your own mentality, your own thinking. You start to study the sport a little bit more in depth. Now you're watching more video. Now you're doing more technical breakdowns. It's forcing you to learn in a different way. Then you adapt. And that's, I think after that, there's the adaptation part where you now start to implement those things which you learned via technique now into body movement, body awareness. And so, yeah.
And I know the struggle that goes along with working so hard and then getting injured. I think it's beautiful when you said it's learning to adapt and learning to learn a different way. Because when we're injured, like you said, it's out of our control and it sucks. And like you said, we're allowed to feel sad about it. Let yourself feel sad, eat that ice cream, whatever you want. Right. But what comes out of it seems like greatness, because it probably made you appreciate the sport more. And I think what you said about coping with it is really, really strong, a strong point to take from.
Yes. See, and I think a part of that is understanding that a little bit of suffering, is good for us to learn to appreciate and have some gratitude for life. Um, a lot of times, especially being a wrestler, we have to watch our diet. We have to watch our weight. It's very intensive. It's very mentally exhausting to have to do those things. All, your friends are eating whatever they want to, chicken wings and ice cream and whatever it is, and you have to watch your diet. You can only eat certain foods. You can only drink water, and you have to stay hydrated all the time. And it's a little bit of suffering, and it's a little painful. But out of these things, I think when we suffer a little bit, we understand, wow, the world's not so bad, and you start to wake up to see and have a little gratitude for your life and for the little things. There's never a time where I'm eating food and I just like scarf it down and like I don't care. I'm always appreciative of every bite that I take of food. I'm always appreciative of every drink, of a sip of water that I take, because I'm like, man, I could not have water because I know what it's like not to be able to drink water for a period of time. So It gives you a healthy gratitude.
I can't imagine what it is like to go through that with putting the trash bags on, spending hours in the saunas, eating almonds and licking lettuce. I don't know. I could not imagine. And so I think what you said about, because I know eating is a big thing with wrestling and
Yes.
diet. And so you really explained there how to cope with that, because that's so hard for wrestlers and for other people to see. So you really explained that well with how to cope with dealing with not eating what
Right.
you want, and having gratitude for what you have. When you see your friends eating the chicken wings, okay, have gratitude for what I'm eating right now,
Right.
but and okay, so this is great because I wanted to talk about gratitude. Speaking
Yes.
of, um,
Yes.
you are a huge gratitude guru, so from my research of you, so let's talk about that.
Yes. Yes. Of course. Yeah, I mean, it's a simple word. It's something that I think that many people take for granted. I think the big point is, especially being an athlete, especially being in moments where you put limitations on yourself and on your own freedoms. We have to learn, and something that I have learned is just to be grateful and to show gratitude for life and for existence and for living, for consciousness, for awareness, for the ability to learn, for pain, for good things, and learning that in every season we're learning and we're progressing, to be a better version of ourselves. And I feel that most people get stuck in anxiety and depression and sadness and fear when they are not progressing to be the better version. It's like they're outgrowing their skin, they're outgrowing their mentality, and that's when these things start to set in, the anxiety, what's going to happen, what's beyond there. They are so used to the land of the status quo and what seems right to them and what they've always known, and the traditions of men and the traditions of themselves. And I've only ever known this, I've only ever been here, I've only ever experienced this. I'm from a small town, everyone knows everyone. And then you get into the big city and you say, oh my goodness, like I didn't realize there was a whole world out there. And so I think a little bit, with regards to gratitude, is being grateful for the things that we are given, and being grateful for the ability to progress and to grow. And I think that being an athlete is a great opportunity. Have a I would have a hard time believing that any athlete, would not be thankful and be grateful for the things that they've been given, for the opportunities that they've been given, because it's made them, a greater and a better person in life.
Whew! That was really inspirational to hear, Nahshon. It is, gratitude is such an important aspect of being an athlete. And I can agree absolutely. So many athletes are like, oh, well, you know what? I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for so and so, or if it wasn't
Mm.
for my coach or and gratitude, okay, this is something pretty interesting. Having gratitude can decrease depression, can decrease suicide, eating disorders, all the things, just by having gratitude.
Right.
And like you said, it's such a simple word and it's so effortless, but it's hard. And I understand sometimes athletes can get in that zone and they're just in it and it becomes their identity, and they're just like so in it that they forget about the little things that you mentioned.
Mm.
So I think that's really important what you said for other athletes to hear, that just something simple like having gratitude for the little things.
And we take things for granted too. We take these for granted, and because I believe a lot of times we get into this fixed mindset of believing that everything, is something earned. That when you're in a competition, if you win, then you earned it. Of course, you worked hard. Of course, you stewarded your gift well. But we have to remember that everything that we have is a gift. Nothing came to us just because, for example, we're talking about the air. You don't earn the right to breathe air.
That is such an example. Yes.
you don't earn the right to have this conscious awareness of what you're learning right now. We take consciousness, the ability to be able to focus on this conversation right now when there's a million thoughts in our head going on. We take consciousness for granted. We take being aware in the moment for granted. And in some ways, I feel that even as competitors, we become entitled. Well, if you don't earn it, then it doesn't belong to you and you only get what you earn. It's like, no, everything is a gift. Everything that you have is a gift. You didn't make it here on your own. You had parents that helped you, who helped supply you, who raised you, who taught you good ethics, good morals, good competitive mentalities in order to move forward. If it wasn't your parents, it was a good coach. It wasn't a good coach. It was a friend. It was a mentor. It was somebody in your life. And that's a gift. And so when we come into this point, it's us saying, well, it's really less about me and more about what I've been given, and I'm stewarding this gift. I'm just a steward of the gifts that I've been given. And as I learn to steward it, then you realize, man, when you're starting to benefit from when you're starting to benefit for something that you really didn't even earn, it just changes you. It just messes you up a little bit, and you have to say, okay, thank you. Thanks, I appreciate it. I got a good life because of I got these amazing gifts, you know.
Being a steward of what you're given and what you have gratitude for.
Yes, and also too, I mean, the reality is that, of course, do we play a role? Yes, of course. We have to steward. We have to persevere. We have to endure. We have to overcome. We have to push forward. Of course, we have to do these things, and we have to show ourselves faithful to the things that we've been given, faithful to the gifts. And to the one who has, more will be given because you stewarded it well. But to the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. How is it possible for you to have a gift, this amazing gift of life, and then to waste it? Or to have an athletic ability, and to let it go to pass, to have a mentality where you can think of and you have technique and you can teach other people, but you let it go to waste. It now puts a little bit of on us to say, hey, will you be responsible? Because the thing is I think many times, even being an athlete, of course, we have to be selfish sometimes. But sometimes we get so selfish that we forget that there's other people that we're doing this for. And there's other people who came before us who inspired us to be who we are today. And then we have to be that same people. What if that inspiration wasn't there? Right? And now on the same point for us, it's like, well, what do you think that you will be to somebody, some little girl or some little boy who's watching, who needs this, someone who looks like you, someone who acts like you, someone who went through the same experience as you? Now all of a sudden your experience means more to just yourself. Now it means something to other people. And now the world is changing because you're inspiring somebody, because you stewarded the gift that you had. It's more than just about us. It's about everybody. Everyone is inspired. Everyone grows. Now everyone I want to be like that. Now they're learning to steward their gift. Now they're learning to be thankful because they saw you as the example of gratefulness and gratuity.
I have the chills right now from what you just said. So that was truly, Nahshon, that is some serious words of wisdom you just projected. Whew, I can't imagine how many athletes are going to benefit from what you just said. And I love it when you talk about how you look for those who come before us and those who are under us and looking up to us, because we are an example. Athletes, we are, and some of us we're on TV. We're looking to things like how you act, how your professionalism is, how your gratitude is. And when you have an athlete who's like, "Oh, get out of my face," littering and all that, those little ones wearing their jersey are going to see that and they're going to look up to that. So it's really, I think if we had more of that, imagine the world. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful that we have that exists. So there's that. Yes. But imagine if every athlete was like that, the world would be impeccable. And I love when,
Beautiful. Yes.
yes, your mentors, your siblings, your friends, your coaches, everything. The list can go on. And so I love it when athletes go back to those people and express their gratitude in some way, whether it's a thank you letter or going back to teach their summer camps or things like that. I think that speaks a lot.
Yes. Yes, it does. It does. To the one who has, more will be given. We should steward well, and that's an encouragement to every athlete to steward your gift well, um and it'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll be all right. It's true. It's like if we have this resource, if we have this gift, like you mentioned, this talent, and we express gratitude for it to others and our sport, then more will be given because they go, oh, I like her. I like Nahshon. He says thank you. It can be as simple as that.
Yes.
But wow. Okay, so thank you, Nahshon, for this. It was wonderful speaking with you today.
Oh, the pleasure was mine. The pleasure was mine. And thank you for the opportunity. This is, again, something I never take for granted. And I always am very happy to be, very grateful to be in moments and have platforms to share what I've been taught through experience and through, through my life.
Wow. Well, your words are out there now, and I'm so excited for other athletes to hear this. Oh, and thank you, Nahshon.
Of course. Thank you so much.
This is Lacey Everett here with Minds in Motion. In order to help others, subscribe, which is free, so we can continue building our positive mental health community. Share it with friends and family so they can reap of the benefits as well. I truly care about your success, so I would love to see your comments and thoughts.